Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I need to report an anonymous tip. Who do I talk to?
Okay. This is regarding what?
This is regarding a mass suicide.
We still say that it was one suicide and 38 murders.
Why can't it be an option to go to your creator the way you feel like you want it to go? Why do you have to wait?
Here's all these people that I love that are now gone. And I, just let them know that, that I love them and I miss them.
En Estados Unidos de Norteamérica, los cuerpos de 39 personas fueron encontrados en esta casa en San Diego. Eran miembros del culto de la Puerta del Cielo. Todos se habían suicidado y grabaron en video sus últimos pensamientos antes de morir para que el mundo los escuchara.
We're so excited, we don't know what to do because we're about to re-enter the level above human.
I couldn't have had a better life than I've had these 21 years. And if it was good here, I know it's been twice as good when I get up there.
This isn't a troubling circumstance. Don't take it as that. It's just a gateway, just a doorway.
What we're doing is we're going home. We're going home to those individuals who sent us here to do this task. And this is the happiest and joyous thing that you can possibly imagine. We're going home.
El culto de la Puerta del Cielo fue fundado hace 20 años por un profesor de música llamado Marshall Applewhite y una enfermera conocida como Bonnie Nettles. El interés de ambos por la espiritualidad los unió, pero fue solo una unión mental y no carnal. Ambos abandonaron la vida que llevaban en Texas y empezaron a viajar por Norteamérica buscando su misión. Después de 6 meses tuvieron un despertar, creyeron que habían sido enviados a la Tierra en una misión especial y desarrollaron una filosofía, fusión de nueva era, ciencia ficción y cristiandad. Lo que prometían a los seguidores era la entrada al reino de los cielos sin tener que morir antes.
I'm from kingdom level above human. What does that yield? That yields immediately that the vast majority say, cult, some religious radical, some blasphemous individual that wants to take advantage of people.
Con sus nuevos nombres, Ti y Do realizaron una serie de reuniones públicas para reclutar seguidores, muchos de los cuales ya buscaban un camino espiritual. Michael Conyers fue uno de los primeros.
Ti and Do in a meeting in 1975, and I was just mesmerized. I think most everyone in the auditorium, and there must have been 500 people, were mesmerized. The message that Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles had was one that was talking to my Christian heritage, yet in a modern, updated way. Like Mary was, impregnated by being taken up on a spacecraft. Now, as unbelievable as that sounds, that was an answer that was better than, just plain virgin birth. It was like technical. It had physicality to it.
Otro de los primeros reclutados fue Sawyer.
When I first joined the group, it was tremendously exciting and adventurous. And it was like I had all this energy to be kind of like an evangelist. And yet before the group, I had no real avenue for that.
El magnetismo de Ti y Do también atrajo a David, de 19 años, hijo de Nancy Brown.
I couldn't believe that he was really going off to do this, and I had to have some knowledge of why. I mean, after all, you've spent 18 years raising a child. He was now 19, and he said, you know, I can't ever picture myself just living the kind of life that most people take to be normal. I seem to want something more, something different, and I'm not sure what it is.
Pero para David, este culto parecía ofrecer una alternativa viable.
He did say that he was going to try it, and it might not work for him, and if it didn't, he would come back. So I, of course, was, hoping for the latter.
Human parents do not possess the offspring they have. It's a very evil thing for them to think that they are theirs, that they are products of theirs, property of theirs.
Cientos de hombres y mujeres jóvenes se reunieron para escuchar las enseñanzas de Do y pronto despertaron la atención de los medios de comunicación. Sintiéndose amenazados, Ti y Do decidieron llevar al grupo a la clandestinidad. Cesó todo contacto con amigos y familiares. Se estableció un riguroso tipo de vida que hizo que muchos reclutas desertaran. Aquellos que eligieron quedarse recibieron nuevos nombres y se les llamó la clase. Su propósito era prepararse para alcanzar el nivel siguiente, el nivel por encima de lo humano. Los estudiantes tomaban sus lecciones en serio, no era una vida fácil.
There was just reams and reams and reams of books on how to do everything. The idea that I wanted to really clarify here, that it was designed for a person not to think for themselves. It was designed that you give your will over to what appeared to be a benevolent being who was taking you through a process that would help you come out the other side.
Los miembros de esta secta alienígena se dedicaban a esta vida voluntariamente.
We used to joke in the class that we were the cult of cults, and we weren't here to be programmed or brainwashed. We were here to beg to be brainwashed.
Se necesitaba estricta obediencia para entrar al siguiente nivel. Así, toda tarea era regulada y examinada por miembros escogidos llamados compañeros de control.
Everything was designed to be followed by an exact duplicate. You were not to come up with, well, I'm going to make the pancakes this big. There was a mixture, a size, how long you cooked it on one side, how much the burner was on, how many a person got, how the syrup was poured on it, everything. I mean, to the point where, like, the males, I shaved. So you were not to go up with the razor, only down. As a matter of fact, I had a problem with that because I always like to go up.
It requires that you, if you move into that evolutionary kingdom, that you leave behind everything of human ways, human behavior, human ignorance, human misinformation.
El nivel siguiente era un lugar sin emoción y sin género.
It was a big part of the class to seek androgyny. That's why the women never wore dresses, never wore jewelry or makeup or anything that would accentuate the body.
El sexo se consideraba demasiado humano y, como en muchas órdenes religiosas, estaba prohibido.
I had to resort to driving down the street and just not looking on one side or the other, so that, just looking at a female would inflame the hormones in my body. And you would just constantly try to find techniques that would eliminate that desire.
Pero a diferencia de los monjes y monjas, estos hombres y mujeres no estaban aislados y no es extraño que sus pensamientos a veces se escaparan al territorio de lo humano.
If there was a slippage in sexuality, you would say, I had a slippage in sexuality. If they wanted to know more, they would call you up and say, what was your slippage in sexuality? But the slippage and having to admit to it and the shame around it, the defeated feeling, like you almost had to go back to square one, was enough for me, and I think I could speak for everybody, to keep them in check.
El grupo continuó en la clandestinidad, mudándose frecuentemente de un lado para otro. Es que Do no solo se escondía de padres ansiosos.
He was very paranoid of the government, of police. If there's any hint that we were going to be found out in a neighborhood or somebody's job or Social Security or whatever, there was a shift, there was a motion. Like, we would live 15 people in a house, and there was designated people that could go outside. And the same people were seen outside all the time. So it appeared as though there was just a few people living in a house. So he had elaborate systems of security with all the people that were involved.
En 1985, Ti, la cofundadora del culto, murió de cáncer, echando por tierra la teoría de que uno se llevaba su cuerpo al otro nivel. Por fortuna, la filosofía del grupo ya había variado para acomodarse a su muerte. Ti tomaría un cuerpo angelical y luego regresaría a recoger a los otros más adelante, pero continuaría comunicándose con el grupo enviando mensajes que solo Do podría interpretar. Por otra parte, a medida que los años pasaban sin noticias de David, Nancy Brown temía por su seguridad.
I reached the pit of despair when the Jonestown news broke in '79, and I remember sitting there watching this horrifying sight of bodies scattered around the compound like crumpled leaves, and I thought, my gosh, I don't know if David's group even lives in this country. Is he still with them? Is he still living? Maybe he got killed in a highway accident. I had no idea.
Nancy estaba decidida a encontrarlo y gracias a su perseverancia se logró un contacto limitado. Do decidió finalmente permitir a sus estudiantes una visita familiar.
Let's continue with the tour.
Of course, it was absolutely marvelous seeing him. Phone calls are nice, letters are nice, but to actually to see and hug him and talk to him and spend a couple of days together was very, very important to me and to all of us. He looked well, but he looked pale. And he was thin. He explained that they had been fasting. They often experimented with different diets. And the pallor was that they spent a lot of time indoors.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
There's 12 candles for 12 birthday years.
I mean, you're backlog years.
We're catching up all on an all right.
One evening, we had a pretty intense talk, and his father and one of his brothers in particular pressed him pretty hard about his beliefs and his choice. And, it was really clear that there wasn't anything that was going to dissuade David from what he had chosen.
When this thing came along, it was like, this is what I've been waiting for. It's like somebody sounding the trumpet.
David would say, stimulating the attachments to our families and our former lives detracts us from our mission. If I were a monk or a priest and I was in a cloistered situation, they only see their families only once a year or less, and so we don't feel that we're doing anything extraordinary in terms of our commitment to our beliefs.
Well, I gotta take off today. Yeah. Got a plane to catch Sacramento about 2, so.
Después de 10 años en la clase, la mayoría de los miembros habían dado el necesario salto de fe para creer que Do era literalmente su salvador.
I'll tell you about a kingdom level beyond here, and if you want to go there, then you have to follow me because I'm the guy who's got the key at the moment.
I believe Do, compared to Jesus, is a 20th century Jesus. In other words, whether he was the exact same soul that was incarnate 2,000 years ago and was called Jesus, or not is really irrelevant, because it's the information that he felt was more important, not who he was in particular.
And some people would say that Doe was actually suffering from a great mental illness and delusional mental illness.
Yes, a great many people said that Jesus was suffering from a great mental illness, I'm sure. And I don't think Doe was suffering from any more of a great mental illness than Jesus.
Pero Michael Conyers empezaba a perder su fe. Después de 13 años en el grupo, había comenzado a pensar en abandonarlo.
I think basically was a lack of vitality in my life, boredom. I wasn't liking what I was doing, and I had more and more doubts of the validity of what I was doing. Marshall Applewhite asked me how I was doing and whether or not I wanted to go have a visit. And I said, sure, I'd like to have a visit. When I got on that plane, I knew I wasn't coming back, so I left.
Después de 16 años en el grupo, Leanne Wood experimentaba dudas similares.
There were times when I would be alone with myself in the bathroom and just beat my head and just be angry at myself for not being, that perfect person. I did start to doubt who Doe was saying that he was. Not that I doubted his sincerity ever, or his belief in what he believed, but I was at a point where I was not happy. I felt I had reached the depths of self-hate. I had failed the overcoming process. I had not succeeded in evolving from the human level into the next level. So, you left with a heavy package of shame and guilt.
Tal vez fue la pérdida de otros miembros de la clase lo que impulsó a Doe a aparecer en público de nuevo en 1994. Su objetivo no era solo reclutar nuevos miembros. Habiendo aceptado que quizás deberían morir para ascender al nivel siguiente, las reuniones públicas del grupo tenían fines más siniestros.
We were also hoping that it might accelerate our departure. In other words, maybe some irate Christians would think that we were saying blasphemies and someone might take a gun and blow us up or something. But we definitely wanted to return to the level above human.
The kingdom level above human is not a static place. It is a place where growth continues indefinitely.
Otra joven que se les unió en esta época fue la hija de Alice y Robert Mathers. Gail solo tenía 24 años y había dejado la casa de sus padres en Long Island para vivir en California.
Hey, Gail, you ready?
For what?
The big day?
To entertain you?
She had a little store out there selling tie-dye clothes and silver jewelry and stuff. And she was doing pretty well for a couple of years. And after she broke up with her boyfriend, she decided that she was going to go on a trip. A couple of months later, we got one of these recruitment flyers for this group talking about UFOs and all that. Then we knew we were in trouble. That was the first indication that we really knew she was in some kind of group that we didn't understand. It was almost sheer panic because we went months without hearing anything. And it's terrible.
When she called home, the one and only phone call in 3 years, a month after we got the flyer, I said, "Hi, Gail, what are you doing?" And she said, "Did you get my flyer?" And we said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, that's what I'm doing. What do you think of it?"
Her grandmother asked her, "Gail, please come home." Says, "When can you see her?" Says, "Probably never."
Hello, honey.
Hello.
Oh, when you coming home?
I don't know, probably never.
Oh, no, Gary, you've got to come.
I thought you'd say that.
Oh, I want to see you so badly. Here, I guess your father wants to say something.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great. How about you?
All right. Geez, we miss you, Gail. Yeah, we don't know what you're doing. We're worried about you. How about coming up for a visit?
No.
Why?
Busy.
Oh, you can't be that busy. Come up and see us. I'll buy you a ticket. We want to see you. You can't be that busy. You can't see your family. Can you?
I don't know.
Ah, come on. Yeah, his Alice.
So what kind of group are you with?
Well, kind of like monks, I guess.
Oh, really? Yeah.
We're all celibate.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's nice. Uh-huh. You eating well? You're not getting fat, are you? No. Good. There's no way I can contact you. You have to contact me? Okay. Well, keep in contact, babe, because I love you so much and I miss you awfully. Hey, how about coming home for Christmas? No Christmas? What are you going to do for Christmas? I'd love to have you come home for Christmas, Gailey. You know how it is. All right? Don't forget how much I love you. First chance you can get, come home for a visit. Bye. Love you.
Now, breaking away from the world is not easy. It's difficult. It's tough. And breaking away doesn't mean that, I'm going to go live in some place with this little cult and I'll, spend time on weekends or at least on holidays with the family that I left because they're my... No. It means that you leave that world behind. You even become another individual. It means that even the mind that you had as a human is aborted. And the soul that was given to you is filled with next level information, next level mind, and a new creature is born.
They'll talk to you tonight.
They got gas, but no lodging.
They got gas?
But it's not till tomorrow morning.
La única forma de entrar a la tierra prometida de Do era quedarse dentro de los confines del grupo. Pocos estudiantes se atrevían a perder esta oportunidad única y Do reforzaba su ansia.
What ended up happening was there was these idle threats, from my point of view, of fear that if you miss the boat, you may not get another chance. Any thought other than what comes from what he called your older member's mind was not a thought to be allowed in.
Otro miembro que se les unió en esa época fue Richard Ford, nacido de nuevo en la secta como Rio de Angelo.
About 88, I began looking very intensively for my purpose. What am I here for? Why am I on this planet? And it led me to a lot of research about everything that involved evolution, not only of the physical, but of the spiritual. So that led me to a group called A Level Above Human, which was holding a meeting. It was their understanding that the earth was designed as a garden to grow souls. And it was as if the Creator had this garden as kind of a personal garden and would plant the seeds, harvest the souls, and then till the garden, spade it under, and then plant again. And that was the whole purpose of this planet. Everything sounded so incredibly believable and very basic. And I understood it. It sounded familiar to me.
I would do anything that I could do to wake you up if you have that potential to know that kingdom, to be saved from this spading under.
Después de casi 10 años lejos del grupo, Michael Conyers tiene una perspectiva de lo que impulsaba a Do.
He didn't like his homosexuality. He was hiding from a piece of himself that he disliked. And so he created a myth around that piece that he didn't like. When you come from a Christian background where your father's a Presbyterian minister and you're living in the South, where in the 70s psychologists still considered homosexuality a mental sickness, he came to a conclusion about his body that it was abhorrent.
Para los estudiantes de Do, la supresión de su sexualidad mediante el pensamiento se hacía tan difícil que algunos se sintieron obligados a tomar acciones más drásticas.
Castration was not something that anybody in the class rushed into. Myself and one other individual were pressing Do for quite a few years on having that option in order to eliminate our sexuality because we had no desire for it anymore.
If your eye offend you, pluck it out. It's the same idea. If something is so offensive to you that your control is threatened by it, then why shouldn't you dispose of it if you have that option to do it? Not that I have ever talked anyone into taking that action.
When it came down to actually doing it, circumstances led up to Sorority and I having to decide who was going to go first. And we flipped the coin over that because it was a simple way of putting it in God's hands. But having lost the coin toss, I had a lot of frustration after he went through with it, and that he was experiencing the relief from the testosterone going through his system, and I was still having to deal with it. All human behavior is really primitive to us. It's really something.
Fue por esta época cuando Sawyer, un miembro leal y a menudo portavoz del grupo, también decidió que era tiempo de abandonarlo.
That's basically antithetical to Jesus' message.
I was compelled to leave. I had some frustration that we weren't learning lessons fast enough, and that the public didn't care about what we had to say, really.
If God said, hey, I'm calling you, hey, David, hello, David,
you're assuming...
I'm on the phone. Yeah, I don't want you to have sex anymore.
It seemed like a number of the students were stagnated, not able to move ahead on their weaknesses. I felt like I just started to have feelings of wanting to do something else. And it was difficult to deal with that at first, because it was almost like a sense of a divorce. I'm glad I didn't have the castration done, because my partner of 2 years, Anne-Marie, is expecting. And I'm excited about that. And it's a whole new life for me to be thinking about being a father. I'm happy with the fact that I'm a functional human being in all aspects.
Rio DiAngelo aprendió rápidamente las lecciones de la clase y aceptó que su cuerpo era una máquina, un mero vehículo para su alma.
You don't let the vehicle have its way, because the vehicle is basically a biological computer with its own memory, its own ways of doing things. And as a soul, you have programmed your own soul and developed your own soul, kind of cultivated it. And so it's a different set of software going into the body, that's the hardware in computer terms.
Así pues, para que funcionara bien el vehículo, a sus cuerpos se les daba mantenimiento regular, incluyendo enemas y una purga especial preparada de acuerdo a una receta precisa.
It's called the Master Cleanser. It's lemonade or limeade with cayenne pepper and maple syrup, which was a B-grade maple syrup. This is a dietary formula. We did this off and on over some years, but it's basically to cleanse the vehicle, to get rid of a lot of toxins, and it works very well.
Para el otoño de 1996, el grupo se había radicado en San Diego y ganaba dinero con una empresa de diseño de páginas para Internet, incluyendo la suya. Do se deprimía cada vez más y estaba convencido de que el fin se acercaba.
If I would title this tape, it would be Last Chance to Evacuate Planet Earth Before It Is Recycled. Last chance to evacuate Earth before it is recycled.
Fue a través de Internet que el grupo pudo atraer a dos nuevos reclutas, Yvonne y Steven Hill. Se les unieron 6 meses antes del suicidio.
I had become an avid web surfer. I stayed on the internet 9 to 10 hours a day. First contact was done through email over the internet.
Durante un tiempo, los Hill habían sido víctimas de una serie de ataques anónimos y se sentían amenazados. Sus vidas se habían hecho intolerables y buscaban una salida.
Once we had talked to the members of the cult and they were sympathetic to our situation, it seemed to be a perfect match. They understood what was happening, the harassments and our cars getting tore up, and they were very sympathetic to that. It was me that wanted to go into the cult at first, and she wanted to come because she said that you're not leaving me here, you know.
Los Hill habían estado casados 7 años y tenían 4 niños. Sus mellizos tenían solo 1 mes. Unirse al culto significaba dejar todo y a todos atrás.
The cult did not allow children, and we gave them up. Looking back, it's just ridiculous, but we did it. We were lost our perception of what to do. We told them that Mommy and Daddy's leaving.
Dejaron a los niños con miembros de su familia y se unieron al grupo en donde los separaron. Ellos también tuvieron que sobreponerse a su sexualidad y al apego del uno por el otro.
I've been in the class, will be 6 months Sunday. I think I may be the last one up to this point to have come to be with T&O at this time. I'm very happy to be here.
She changed almost 100%. At first we got there, it seemed to be a big burden lifted off her. She was happy. She was totally enamored by the environment. You talk about $1 million estate and all the amenities and things that go along with that lifestyle, and she just enjoyed it.
A medida que su esposa Yvonne se sentía más atraída, Steve no veía la hora de salir y después de 3 meses regresó a Cincinnati, pero solo.
I knew that she couldn't keep up with that way of life, the control, the manipulation. And then when I left, I kind of knew that she would follow. She had wanted to go there with me, and I knew if I left, that she would have wanted to leave and go with her family, to come home to her husband.
There's nothing here for me. I want to look forward, keep my eye on T&O. That's my path.
Steven ya nunca volvería a ver a su esposa con vida.
To see her picture, I couldn't believe that, but it's true. And I have a lifetime to deal with that.
A principios de año, el cometa Hale-Bopp hizo su aparición en el cielo. Do lo tomó como la esperada señal de T de que el momento para evacuar el planeta Tierra finalmente había llegado. Solo unas semanas antes de la evacuación, Rio de Angelo se sintió obligado a dejar a Do y al culto. Sin embargo, él sostiene no haber sabido nada de lo que iba a suceder.
I had this feeling that was the same feeling that I had when I joined. It was kind of an irresistible feeling that my focus or my task was different. I felt like I had a task to do outside of the class, for the class, in some way that I didn't understand. But I talked to Do about it, and after an emotional conversation of how I felt I needed to leave the class to do this task, he felt that it was probably part of the design.
La tarea de Rio estaba a punto de esclarecerse. Él sería el mensajero del culto en el mundo exterior después de que ellos hubieran hecho el último sacrificio en demostración de su fe.
Let me say that our mission here at this time is about to come to a close in the next few days. We came from distant space and even what some might call somewhat of another dimension. And we're about to return from whence we came.
2 días antes de que los suicidios comenzaran, los miembros de la Puerta del Cielo vinieron a este restaurante. Este fue el escenario de su última cena.
They all ordered the exact same thing. The menu was set up ahead of time before they came in. They had all had iced teas to drink, dinner salads beforehand with tomato vinaigrette dressing, turkey pot pies for the main entree, cheesecake with blueberries on top for dessert. Seemed very nice, very friendly, really polite. No one seemed like depressed at all or anything like that.
We're going to stop this tape and we're going to tie it together with the tape. I want you to see the class that's sitting in front of me. And I'm very proud of these students of the kingdom of heaven, of the kingdom of God, of the evolutionary level above human. They're about to leave, and they're excited about leaving. Jim Odie, would you want to stand up so that we can take a look at your uniform? Okay. And maybe we can back up a little bit and get a little wider picture of the uniform. Okay. Good. Now come back, and if you would, and sit down, and now if you would hold your patch, maybe we can zoom in on the patch. Great. There we go. See, it says Heaven's Gate awaiting. And that's exactly what that means to us. We've been away, and now we're going back. Okay, thanks, Jim Odie.
I've made the conscious choice to willfully exit this vehicle or body that I'm wearing. I'm fully aware that to stay here, to reject the choice to go to the next level, to separate from the kingdom of God, is suicide.
And I feel very, very excited about this time and that we'll finally be able to leave as a class together. We've all worked very hard, and we've all tried to prove to our older members that we're worthy of the effort and sacrifice they've made.
But for those that we've left behind, we're going on to something greater and better, and that we hope that someday you will understand this and you might join us.
A fellow by the name of Richard Ford, who is an ex-member of the Heaven's Gate. In fact, he left 6 weeks prior to the mass suicide. He had received a suicide note and a farewell tape from the cult. And in essence, it said that they were going to take their lives. The very following day, he went down to Rancho Santa Fe. He went inside. He checked the 39 decedents. He also took videotape as he went in. He made a 911 call to the Sheriff's Communications Center, telling them what his observations were.
Is 18241 Colina Norte and Rancho Santa Fe.
Okay, and what happened there?
Well, I think there was a religious group that committed suicide.
Okay, but you don't know when this may have happened or how many people are involved or any other details?
Right.
Okay, we'll go check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
In the letter that they had sent me, they told me that there would be a door open and that I could go through this door. The smell was really strong. So I walked a little further and started to see the bodies on their beds and mattresses around the house. And I would call out to see if anybody was still alive, and there was no answer. And so I walked around the house videotaping things because I wanted to make sure that this was portrayed accurate. The feeling was very unusual. I had never experienced anything like that before. I guess it was a lot of anxiety, a lot of, trying to keep the camera from shaking and dealing with the emotions. Here's all these people that I love that are now gone. I feel good for them. I'm very happy for them, but I miss them. So it's a lonely feeling.
The entire scene was surreal. It was hard for me to say to myself, there are 39 dead people in here, instead of they're all sleeping, because that's what it looked like. Most of those decedents looked like they were sleeping. In my entire career, I've never been exposed to anything of this magnitude. Not only is it shocking, but it's almost unreal to me that 39 peoples would take this way out.
The cause of death after the scene examination, the autopsy, and all the toxicology was completed was certified as alcohol, phenobarbital, which is a sedative, and hydrocodone, which is a painkiller, which was involved in 4 people. associated with the probable use of plastic bags to produce asphyxia. Some of them may have been assisted by other persons with the plastic bag, but we do not have any physical evidence on any one individual to prove that premise.
Las autopsias también mostraron que 8 de los hombres, incluyendo a Doe, estaban castrados, mientras la mayoría de sus estudiantes yacían muertos por todo, y sus seguidores de mayor confianza ponían todo en orden y colocaban mortajas en las caras de los difuntos.
They did not die all at the same time. There was varying degrees of decomposition. They were discovered on Wednesday, and I personally believe probably some of the deaths were on Sunday, some of them were on Tuesday, some in between. Mr. Applewhite died, I believe, on Tuesday. He was in the last group, but he was not the last one to die because he was covered with a shroud and all very neat in his bed.
I've got a real good feeling that they are in the next level, that most of them graduated.
39 people did not die in vain. They died exactly for what they believed in. People die for their country. People die for their spouses, their friends. People die for all kinds of reasons. And dying for your belief system is a valid reason to die, especially when you're not hurting anybody else.
I saw a desperation in his face. I saw a kind of crazed look. It wasn't the Doe that I really remembered when I was younger. There was more of a aliveness and a freshness. He looked very weary and defeated.
I feel that he got to a point where he didn't know any other way out, that he had created this enormous belief system and this structure and this people that were totally committed to him. Personally, he was their God.
David tenía 40 años cuando murió, y a pesar de que Nancy lo había perdido 20 años atrás, la noticia fue un shock.
I was glued to the set at 2 o'clock. They had just started the press conference when the phone rang, and I was annoyed because I thought, well, you know, whoever's calling, I'm going to have to tell them I have to call them back. But the gentleman said, announced his name and said, I'm from the coroner's office in San Diego. So I knew immediately why he called and that all hope was lost.
Well, I've tried to think long and hard about what I'm going to say, and I know there's probably not a lot of time.
It's hard to know whether to be sad for David about the ending of his life. I'm sad for me and his family that we'll get to see him again. But as the coroner told me on the phone, he said David had a very serene countenance. He looked like he died peacefully. David lived his adult life doing what he wanted to do with people he loved and who loved him. And who's to say whether this was a bad life?
I'm just very, very thankful that this end of the part of the task is over.
Los Mather no pueden ser tan filosóficos. Gail había estado en la secta solo 3 años y tenía 27 cuando murió.
I came home from work one night, I turned the TV on, half looking, and I just glanced up and I saw one of those flyers, just like the one we got, go across the screen. Then they showed a picture of Applewhite, and I knew we were in trouble.
When I first got home and he told me, I said, oh, dear God, I'd pace the floor uncontrollably saying, dear God, don't let her be there. Please don't let her be. Let her call and say, Mom, I backed out the last minute. I'm in the bushes. I'm hiding. Get me out of here, whatever. But don't let it be her. And then her girlfriend came in and she said, God, Gail's on that goodbye video. And I said, no, Gail couldn't be. And it came on. And I didn't recognize Gail because she had black circles around her eyes. She had aged so much. I thought it was a 40-year-old woman. But once she opened her mouth to speak, the voice was there, and I realized it was Gail. And I thought, oh, dear God, it can't.
That wasn't the Gail we knew.
Gail would have never taken her life knowing how much it would hurt us.
That was Applewhite's Gail.
Yeah.
I can tell you that Doe is
the most special, dignified, unhuman, objective person that you can ever meet.
That's right.
He has helped us so much and put up with so much and never done anything that seemed even close to the way a human would respond. And I guess that's really all I want to say.
We're angry at Applewhite because not only did he kill her, but he killed our future with her and with any grandchildren we might have had with her. And she just had everything to live for. And now I can't believe that she's dead.
We still say that it was one suicide and 38 murders. That was induced suicide, really. That wasn't suicide in the true sense of the word. Leaves an awful big hole in your life.
And it's been a big enough hole for 3 years, but now that hole is never going to heal because she's gone.
I mean, the kid's supposed to bury the old folks, not the other way around.